Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Harry Wolf, where I talk about JavaScript, the web, and the future at large. Today's episode is a fun little follow-up episode. So last week, I had a video all about Deno, the node, a better node alternative, perhaps. And it is a video that got such great response from everybody. People seem to really, you seem to really enjoy this video. And the comments that you left on this video were chef's kiss. And I figured today I'd use this opportunity to kind of follow up on some of the questions that people left on this video and kind of answer them, because there are a few pieces of the puzzle that is Deno that I'm hoping to fill today. There was a lot of exciting comments from talking about how TypeScript out of the box, Bundle.js, code quality and deployment just got upgraded. And I say yes, it did. Other people are just predicting huge things for Deno. When released, it's surely going to be one of the biggest things in JS. Already has 44,000 GitHub stars. I mean, when you're shooting for the moon, you will come across a few stars along the way. Am I right? Joseph said, "This is amazing and fascinating. I can't wait to see what's included in version 1.0. I was snooping on the GitHub page, and it seems like the last major blocker until they make Deno 1.0 is actually getting some built-in debug capabilities in Deno. By that, I mean being able to actually attach a Deno process to the Chrome developer tools, so you can actually set breakpoints and introspect the stack while you're developing. That's the last big milestone that they're trying to get in Deno to make it feel ready to be called 1.0. Now, of course, some people also were a little bit eager to tell me how I could not notice the obvious that Deno is merely an anagram for node. And I don't know, did I say in the video that I didn't know why it was called Deno? I hope I didn't, but yeah, in case you were unclear, Deno is essentially node shifted over one. And just so happens that it's a happy coincidence that Deno is the start of dinosaur, like a Deno dinosaur, so it makes for a pretty great logo for this new project. And then there were a few comments of concern. Concern that the module, or rather the lack of a module system in Deno, is not going to be a thing that can scale to a large project. People were nervous that having things be so URL heavy would not really make it tolerable to make large Deno applications. And to that I say, maybe. I mean, I haven't made a large Deno application, so I can't qualitatively say whether that's going to be an advantage or a disadvantage. I will say, though, that one thing I do see that's nice about having the dependency system just be URLs is that it's a much more primitive way of going about it. Whereas with Node, there's this bespoke resolution rules on how Node, when you say require FS, the rules that Node follows on where it resolves that file. And it's this cascading rule chain that gets a little confusing, especially when you're dealing with the Node dependencies in depth. And that's kind of the strength, I think, of Deno, where you have this very simple to understand dependencies where here's a URL and that's it. So much so that I could imagine there being a future project that kind of wraps and encapsulates that logic to make it maybe more tenable in a large application. There's one feature of Deno that I didn't talk about where they actually support this thing called import maps to actually solve one of the pain points where you have to repeat this long string many times in your applications. So an import map essentially is actually a browser feature. Like, this is not Deno reinventing the wheel. This is, again, them trying to lean into spec, and especially browser spec. Import map is a way for you to define file identifiers to the full URLs, such that in the browser, not all browsers support this yet, obviously, but in the browser you can actually have an import map that says, if I say import Lodash, this is where it should come from. this is the full path that you can resolve that from. And in Deno, you can do the same thing. So if you're using, their example is if you're using the HTTP Deno module, you actually have an import map to map that long URL into just a local string. And there's pros and cons to that, because now it's easier to type in your application. But for somebody that's coming to your project for the first time, because these import maps are not, they're custom to each application, they're gonna have to read your import map to understand what your actual dependencies are. So a trade-off, but potentially that's one way that the URL-based dependency system will be a little bit more easy to scale to large applications. And then there's also a question somebody had about how could I use the existing NPM ecosystem in Deno. That is not a fully solved problem yet. They actually have a work in progress solution to allow kind of like a compatibility layer where you can convert a NPM module into a format that you can then use in your Deno project. I haven't tried it out yet. It'd be kind of fun to play around with, maybe in a future video. They're trying to solve it. It's not a top priority right now. They're trying to get Deno itself solid before they kind of delve into the depths that is compatibility with the large node ecosystem, which has its own bunch of idiosyncrasies. So having Deno just focus on like the happiest path, like the solid base path, is probably the best idea in my opinion for sure. And also, Deno is still not done. I was actually researching this video a little bit more, and I was trying to figure out how to actually write tests with Deno. And I was seeing all these examples in the GitHub repo about how to write a test, about how you should use Deno test and use this API. And I kept trying to run it locally, and I kept failing. And I was so confused. I was like, why is this failing? And I realized that this was the next version. I was using Deno 0.32, and they had already changed the entire Deno test framework in 0.33. So to really explore Deno now might not be the best thing, because what I say might change. But it shows that they're still trying to get a solid core, something they're happy with before they move to 1.0 and get the API locked in. So I think the change is for the better. It's cool, but you know, they're still working on it. And it's not that, I think it's three mostly active developers working on Deno, which is pretty, and like a side project. I'm sure they're not being paid full time to work on Deno, so it's kind of cool the progress that they're making there. And then of course, people always love, I was so happy that people finally asked me, what syntax am I using, what theme am I using for VS Code, and what font am I using? I truly feel like people finally care about what I'm coding, because they're asking about what my editor setup is like. Finally, that's what I can now stop YouTubing because people want to know what my syntax and my font is for coding. To answer that question, I'm using, what the hell did I say? I actually have a website that shows this, which I need to update because my font's now outdated. But if you go to hswolf.com/uses, you can kind of see my entire setup if you have that question. I'm using the Atom 1 dark syntax. I used to use Atom, and I came to VS Code, and I enjoyed that a lot more, so I used that theme. And I actually recently switched to a new font called JetBrains Mono. It's a brand new free font from JetBrains, the makers of IntelliJ, and it's monospace, and it's pretty nice. I tried the ligatures, which I could not get used to. I don't think I'm a ligatures person. It confuses my eyes. I can't read the code as well with it being ligatures, but that's what I'm using in case you're really interesting. I'm trying to see what other people asked as well, but mostly the biggest thing people had complaints about was the dependency system. Like, how is that going to scale? So I think I definitely owe you a future video where I actually do play with a Deno application and kind of play with having there be dependencies used throughout it. I'd be curious if you have any ideas what applications I should make with Deno, the CLI or other things, but I'd be curious to hear what you say about that. So that's kind of been like my response video, answering your questions about what should my screen grab for the YouTube video be? I should go like this, be like, what's your questions? Wait, mug yourself, don't mug yourself. That's me answering your questions about Deno. Hopefully that clarifies some of the confusions that you might have had. Also maybe gets you even more excited about it. I'm very excited about Deno. I've actually been like going through the source code and looking at Rust code being like, what the heck is this Rust code? Where are all these brackets and these ampersands and these things that are foreign to me as a JavaScript engineer? Hopefully I get to learn it. I might want to do like a live stream where I play with Rust and kind of take you along with my journey on how I learned Rust along the way, because Rust is pretty cool to me too. Rust is really, really cool. Deno's also cool, but you know, things at different points. Thank you for watching. A bit of a rambling video, but hopefully you enjoyed this as well. If you have any other questions, this is now your chance to ask them again. I might just reply in the comments this time, because I think there's only so many reaction videos that I can make about a video, so you only get one. Thanks for watching. If you do have any questions, leave a comment down below. If you have no questions, then just say, hey Harry, I like your eyebrows. I haven't gotten commented on my eyebrows in a long time. They go up and down, up and down, up and down. That's it. That's the video. Subscribe if you don't already. These videos come once a week right at your face. And my face is one that's looking at you right now. I have a newsletter where I post new updates about the world of the front end, including JavaScript. I have on Twitter, and I have a Patreon. So, you know, I'm fully online. Thank you for watching, dear friend. I look forward to seeing you again when the sky is blue and not quite red, when my dreams are heavy but not quite said. This is my song I made up right now, and I think it's time that I say